All right, folks, welcome on back here this Tuesday, June 22nd, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back, of course, for our afternoon meeting. It feels good to be back. I was actually off on the social feeds yesterday. Great to see all of us on Facebook Live and YouTube. Of course, with that in mind, great to see all of our students, Norman, Pat, Leda, Wendy, Peter, Tim, Sharon, all of us inside the cyber group room. Welcome on back. So I wasn't able to get the stream up yesterday afternoon all of a sudden. I think what happened was I ended up deleting my internet browsing history, the cookies, the cache, and I ended up deleting my StreamYard password. How about that? So I apologize for all of us joining us on social media, but I have to begin today with what I wanted to begin with yesterday before I so rudely found out I wasn't able to do the meeting for us here in the afternoon. So as we all know at this point, we ended up seeing Bitcoin get clobbered yesterday and then heading into the morning. So typically when I have the chance here in the afternoons, I like to pull up the Bitcoin chart for any of our crypto followers, but not only for you folks there, but for anyone that tends to follow the blockchain Bitcoin mining affiliated stocks, the Riots, the Maras, the Cannons, and all of those that we've called out over the last many months. So, I always like to show these few charts here, the 15, the hourly, and then we'll jump to the daily in a bit. But just across the last day and a half, 2 days, you can see the big drop off breaking down below 33, support from the last few days, and then eventually just lower and lower. Going into this morning, it was on the way down to 30, so you knew that it was going to break down below 30,000 today. I mean, I think the absolute bottom from like a month ago or 3 weeks ago at this point was exactly at 30 flat. So with the way it was dropping, you knew it was just going to break lower. The question is to what extent? So here's what I want to show you. Obviously, you've seen the squeeze back up, more so heading into the late morning, the early afternoon here, and it's still going. So we'll go to the Riots and the Maras, all of these other equities that follow Bitcoin in just a bit. Let's go to the daily chart first, actually. We'll go to the daily. Let's actually hop around with some moving averages. I should have had this up just before I started, so I apologize for that in advance. But let's see if I could bring this up. Is this thing going to be annoying to me here? Stupid thing. Let's see if I can get this. Long story short, what I want to show you folks here is the 500 EMA. I have a few moving averages up on my chart. Let's see if it's going to play nice to me here today. It's not gonna. Damn. All right. So what I want to show is the 500 EMA. And when I do these Bitcoin reviews and analysis, I always tend to show the EMAs that I have up at the time. I tend to have a 50, 100, 200, and then a 500. The 500 EMA was essentially right here off of like 30, 29.3, I think it was, the absolute bottom. Point being, today on the daily chart, you could see Bitcoin breaking lower, but if you could imagine the 500 EMA here, folks, it was being troublesome to me just before, but ended up essentially holding right over that major EMA, that moving average. And with that, we've seen Bitcoin begin to squeeze back up going into the late morning, the early afternoon, like I'd said. So we'll keep track of this, of course, throughout the week. I am not here to give you predictions as far as what it will do going into tomorrow, going into the next day. I tried doing that about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and for as much as it dropped, it definitely dropped a little bit more than I had thought it would. So that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to provide my own thoughts as far as the short-term move, as far as what could happen going into the next couple hours, not to say the next couple days. We know it's going to be a long while before this starts going back up to 45,000, 50,000. And if it's sooner than what I think it would be, then great, whatever. But for right now, at least as far as today, this afternoon, Tuesday, let's jump to the Maras out there, the Riots. You could see essentially the same type of move. So where Mara ended up bottoming out right off of 2450 at the same time as Bitcoin squeezed off that 500 EMA, we ended up seeing Mara make the same move. Riot breaking new highs right now. I got to say, a stock that I've been interested in from the morning because Bitcoin was down and this stock was on the losers list. Cannon. We're familiar with Cannon. How come Cannon's not making the same exact type of move as Riot or Mara here? Now, I can't give you that exact answer. Maybe market makers are holding it back, accumulating shares, knowing that they could just make it explode and pop, perhaps even as early as this afternoon, perhaps tomorrow morning. We'll find out. I like these stocks so far going into the afternoon. Unfortunately, though, this is the part of the meeting where I'll tell you that for as much as we see Riot and Mara trending up at this time of the day, Well, how often do they really end up making that big final breakout into the close? For other stocks, we often cheerlead that and we often hope to see that happen. With Riot and Mara, unfortunately, history has proven with these stocks, at the highs of the day, regardless of percentage up or down, this is down 0.57%. Regardless of that, typically when we see these stocks at or near the highs, they have rarely, if ever, have ever at all continued pushing up just as beautifully into the close. We'll see what happens, at least with this afternoon, with Bitcoin dropping off as much as it has, at least across the last 24 hours. So we'll put all three on our list for right now, just in hopes of continuation. Riot, Mara, and then the one I'm really more interested in is this Canon. This thing's been holding under 8 all throughout the afternoon and really throughout the day. These false breakouts. I jumped in on Canon here off of 8, ended up going scratch because it just didn't give me what I wanted at the time. And you know what? Hey, if we happen to see big continuation into the close, watch out for that 8 level on the Canon trade. All right. So without further ado, I got here from the trading room, Michael D saying the few times I traded Canon, it did not seem to follow Bitcoin as much as Riot and Mara did. Well, they're all Bitcoin miners. So Riot and Mara have proven themselves, Michael, to have correlated better with Bitcoin, not just today, but just across the last few weeks, the last month. But with the setup we have here on Canon, I just got filled. You can actually just see that right there. I just got filled on a trade. So I was going to say, I'm so interested in this trade. I had my order set. I'm actually filled right now. I got filled right off of 8. We're going to see what happens, at least going into this afternoon. We'll come back to this, obviously, going into the end of this meeting, given that I just got in. I'm going to set my stop right now, at least in case if it shakes down while I go through the rest of the gainers and losers list. I'll come back to it either way. So normally I would have started this meeting off, aside from all of the Bitcoin hysteria, since I wasn't on the social streams yesterday, I would have started off otherwise with this ALF. So as you can see on the daily chart, ALF already breaking over the highs back from last week and then only continuing to push up early on this morning. So for all of us in social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, that are looking to wonder, like, why is this stock up 68% today? And why is it up so much the past week or so? Essentially, the news that came out this morning, it was right around 8:30 Eastern time. ALF announced a $2 million buyback. They told Benzinga specifically, our commitment to a tight float and a retail base is unwavering. The CEO calls its stock undervalued based on pipeline projections and identified opportunity. All right, that's the headlines out. The $2 million buyback is the real headline as to why this stock popped after 8 a.m. Eastern time. But, long story short, no pun intended, when you happen to see a stock breaking all-time highs like this, there's no historical ceiling. There's no past data to work off of. This is the dream. This is the absolute dream that you would hope to have happen for a stock that breaks all-time highs like this. The absolute roof was blown off. So as you could see, after the market opened up, it actually moved up to 10 at first, then shook back down. When this ended up re-breaking above 10, that was it. That was a wrap. I mean, I'm talking right here off this bigger pop, which led to this just really exploding, right? So to see this stock make the type of run that it made, even from 10, moving all the way up throughout the course of the morning into the afternoon, topping off essentially right under 15, it still has some play to it. But again, for as much as it moved up, not just today, but from Monday, from Friday last week when it was $5, $6, when is this stock going to begin to pull back? That's the question that we always have to ask. And at any instance, especially the more and more a stock continues to move up and pop like we've seen here. So, I can come back to this and put this on our list at the end if we really happen to see more signs of life, a higher low being built perhaps off 13 here. So we'll come back to this at the end just to see where it's at. But my heart tells me it's likely to more slip off going into the close. So we'll see. All right, so I wanted to go over those pretty much just to begin. As tradition now, what we'll do is really go from top to bottom. I got a couple of warrants here to start the gainers list, so typically those I just skip over. I don't know what this is. NSPRZ. Try saying that 3 times fast. Stock's 21 cents. It's doing nothing right now, so we're going to pass on this. Really a bunch of unfamiliar stocks and tickers that are near the top of the gainers list. For doing this 6.5 to 7 years, that's not really that good of a sign. There are always stocks that make these big moves and pops and drops, and you try and follow it after, of course, just like Wish. But otherwise, I like to be more tied to the ones I've seen on the gainer side before. This IDRA I've seen before, not just from today, but obviously just look back on the daily chart. Stock took a huge hit going back into late March, gap down from essentially 5 all the way down to 2, continued dumping off after that point. So we took a rise off it after the big gap. But to see the stock squeeze up at this time of the day, I really hope to see continuation, right? That's what we were just talking about with Riot and Mara, at least. For this one, IDRA, definitely just going to put this on our watch list for the meantime. Ooh, let me get my volume bars up. I don't think I had that up. There we go. All right, nice cheap stock, good spread. It's popping right now, so maybe it could pull back, but I wouldn't expect this to be the type of stock that would shake you out, 10, 15 cents within a given minute. And Triple D number 8. This is a stock we are pretty familiar with. We called it out earlier from this morning. It didn't make our morning watch list, but it ended up popping up as soon as the market opened up. So obviously caught our attention pretty quick. Essentially broke out from 30, ended up moving up towards a high of like 38.50. So it's pretty close to its highs in relation to its low. So that looks great, but it's to say this stock's very heavily traded, right? I mean, it's pretty similar to the ALF, just in the sense of being heavily traded, the momentum dying off from the trend up. So again, maybe I'll come back to it. The stock is shortable at least. So if it does dump off here, perhaps, it can make for a nice short little day trade. WWR, next one, number 11. This stock we ended up doing really well on. I don't think it was from the beginning. Yeah, it was from right over here. So you could see back from October time, stock ended up exploding from like $2.53 all the way up towards 14.50 here. Obviously dumped back down since, and it's the type of stock to make that exact type of move. You could see going back into late February, early March, essentially did the same thing. So as long as we know what we're getting into with this type of trade here, meaning we're not trying to swing trade this, if you're in from a really good price and want to reserve some shares to hold overnight, that's your doing. At least for what we're trying to watch for on this trade into the afternoon, it's building a higher low or already built the higher low, trying to move back up now towards 550. So I would definitely expect for there to be a little bit of a shake around off of 550 and even 555. A lot of volume traded and filled right off of 555 today, not just 550. So I would assume for that to be more of a complementary like resistance, if anything. So familiar name, we'll put this on our watch list for now, WWR. Healthy water break there. That always helps. All right, so let's keep it pushing. See what else we got. GSAT here, familiar name from, I think, yesterday, ended up first being called out off the pop up towards 150 and above, and obviously today ended up making a second move, held 150 as support today, pushed up to 185. Pretty flat, pretty weak right now. Not too flat, but definitely weak in relation to the pop and move up from today and really the past few days. ATOS, right? So this just goes back to what I brought up about ALF in the sense of the more and more a stock explodes and pops and it moves up faster and faster, you can't keep expecting the stock to make that same move or just keep moving up and up over time. So God bless, this ended up popping after the market opened. It ended up moving up higher later on as it broke out from 675, 680. But it's like, it goes back to what I always say. When the volume dies off on a stock, looking at the volume bars per minute that's being traded, obviously increased off this big pop and over time pushed up more and more. But after this last burst over 750, essentially being a false breakout, you could just see the volume wore off very sharply after. And when the volume dies off, I say it all the time, so does the stock. So ended up seeing this begin to dive off here, making lower highs from the 750 and obviously a big shake here. So it's more of a short into the close than anything. These shares are hard to borrow from TradeStation. So we'll see what else we got. Right now, so far, we have 5 stocks on our watch list, 3 of those being like more of the Bitcoin, related crypto mining stocks, so to say. How about space breaking above the highs from the last couple weeks and even pushing up further? Pretty flat now, but definitely this will be a good stock to watch come tomorrow. Come tomorrow morning, first thing, I'll be looking at space. To see this type of pop and run from earlier today. And like I'd said before, breaking above the highs really cleanly from the last couple weeks, last week and a half, 2 weeks, roughly off of 37.50, 38-ish. So, assuming for when this pulls back down to look for support around those prices. All right, what's this E next to plug? Plug with the little E right next to the ticker. I don't know what that stands for. Ended up making a nice push from earlier today. I know that they had earnings earlier this morning. That's not what the E stands for, unfortunately. Ended up pushing up nicely, and it's still pretty close to its highs, at least right now, making a higher low and trying to get back up to 33.50. I do like this plug stock. We are pretty familiar with this trade, and if we're familiar with this trade, perhaps we check out Fuel Cell, FCEL. It's not as sharp. Not as lively, not as sharp. You know what? I'll put this on the side. I likely will add plug to our main list at the end. I just want to see if there's anything that looks even better, something I could prioritize over this. Express, another Reddit stock. Let's just check out the Blackberries, the AMCs of the world out there. You know, BB made a move earlier today when it broke over 13. Never pulled back there yet. AMC is pushing up a little bit, so I guess that can give traction towards some of the other quote-unquote Reddit stocks. You know, it's pretty funny. I get asked this often, and understandably so inside our trading room. But I would get asked, like, you know, hey, is this a Reddit stock today? Is this a meme stock today? Folks, just to give you some insight, like on that Reddit group, you know, Wall Street Bets, there's 11.5 million people in that channel, in that group, that are on Reddit on that one group. 11.5 million. Any stock that is making a big move nowadays, they're talking about on Reddit. So don't even pull your hair out wondering, is this a Reddit stock? Is this a... Don't worry about that. The more you even think about that, you're distracting yourself from what you should be following. The order flow, looking at the prints on the tape, the trend, just all of the basics that we need to follow in terms of taking any trade. So at least for now, I'm personally not going to follow AMC. A little out of our price range. The stock also crashes my platform. So those are reasons why I would not follow that. But maybe Express, maybe BlackBerry. I'll come back to them, I guess, at the end if they make one more pop. FIGS, FIGS. This is a new ticker, I guess. I know Fausto called this out after the market opened. I know all of the Italians in here were going nuts over it. There we go. We got Andrea chiming in from before. All right, so we'll see what else we got, though, otherwise, really. I mean, just looking for some familiar names. Tupperware. Not a whole lot happening there. BBIG, I think this is also another crypto-related stock or maybe NFT type of stock. Pushed up earlier, trying to get going right now. It's on the way up to 5. I'll put it on the side list with plug. It's interesting, but I'm not ready to fully commit to it yet. All right, so I guess speaking of the Reddit stocks, the only others I would really want to jump to fast is either Clove or Workhorse. I know those are two stocks that, well, not only are being talked about by the Reddit channel, but those are two stocks in particular that have incredible short interest. So for right now, both really aren't doing a whole lot, seem to be pretty flat. It looks at least like Clove popped earlier today, but that totally dumped back down. Yeah, I'm not as jumpy to watch those right now. So, you know what? Let's hop over to the losers list. We'll see what else we got on this side of the field. For anyone on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, anyone out there that would like to chime in, please do so. Let me know if there's anything that you would want me to look at. But first, we'll go to the top of the losers list. GBR down 32+%. What makes the top percent, or what makes the top of the gainers list one day typically makes the percent losers list the next. So ended up seeing this just completely fumble in the pre-market, and then after the open snap lower. Same to be said on Torch. Now, again, this is like the perfect embodiment of, for as much as it goes up, when is it going to pull back down? This stock just a week and a half ago is $3, $3.50. And it's not just the size of the move, seeing this stock just yesterday over 10, but look at the gaps on the daily chart. The gaps to me are even or as important, let's say. So you could just see even overnight, this stock made some extreme moves without any sort of buying or any sort of volume being transacted. That doesn't automatically lead to a gap fill, but the more and more it goes up with those gaps just day to day to day, it's just more and more likely to happen. So I hope nobody got caught on this Torch trade from the morning. Rightfully so. We were watching it in the pre-market and we called it out a bit after 9:30, but that was only once we started to see this begin to build off of 9. When this started coming back down, making lower highs, pulling back down, you know, it's easy for me to say this, I guess, after the fact, but for any one of us live inside the trading room, it should be easy for you to say this too. The writing was on the wall to see this just absolutely crash. once this ended up making the lower high, the writing was absolutely on the wall. So, unless if you ended up taking a loss from earlier here, trying to expect the bounce, if you got stuck holding on to this, you got a problem. We would really have to work on work on letting go of these losing trades. Should you have held on to this trade as it was like kind of making this lower high, crashing back down below support? Hey, you ask, how does a stock get from point A to point B? Just look what happened once support broke. That was it. 920-ish, $9. That was it. All right, so you could say that's it also for the Mavis trade. Ended up diving off after the market opened up. I thought that they had either a common stock offering or direct offering of shares. Anytime that happens, the stock just drops down in price, either to the price that they list or just otherwise. I don't think they listed a per share price that they listed the offering at, but obviously took a big tumble in the after hours. I was in this trade with one of our students, Charlie, and I wish I took a better exit on it, but we had a pretty sweet entry. It was right off of 1675 here, ended up jumping in on a smaller size, like 500 shares. Still got us just about like 40, 50 cents on the trade. I was in this trade when we were conducting our Traders Talk workshop. So as it made the lower high, I caught it and ended up seeing it pull back. I got out on this trade when it crashed below 17 here. I could have gotten out slightly ahead of time. Thankfully, I got out where I did because it only tumbled back down more after. But damn, it goes to show how strong that 1675 ultimately was. Ended up making higher lows off that price later on. And now, it's at 1712, pushing back up a slight bit. This seems to be a tradable stock, but again, there's a lot of tradable stocks out there. We could look at NEO, we could look at the airlines, we could look at this stock or that stock. This stock is just tradable. That's it. There's nothing really to write home about on Mavis at this point. I was watching it off of the news earlier, watched it off the major support 1675, but at this stage, I don't really know where this will go for the next, hour or hour and 10 minutes from here. So, come back to it tomorrow. If it ends up showing signs of life on the way up, showing an iceberg on the bid holding or more orders getting filled on the ask, then you try and jump in anticipating a squeeze back up. But until that happens, I'm not really too interested. Jinko Solar ended up taking a big drop. I thought they had earnings this week. That could have been from this morning. We ended up trading them yesterday going into this time of the day, pushed up pretty nicely. And obviously the inverse happened today. Ended up diving off here after the market opened up. Let me just check really quickly, see if this was earnings based. I guess no earnings today. It's got to be tomorrow then. I saw them coming out with earnings for this week. Let me just check really fast. Oh, you know what's funny? I knew this going into the meeting. I caught myself before I actually jumped on and did my intro. This whole day I've been thinking today's Wednesday. This whole freaking day. So I believe Jinko has earnings for this week. Let me just Yeah, they have earnings Friday morning. I don't know. All right, so they ended up diving off here this morning. I don't see any sort of news report or any headline out there for this trade. Really flat right now, so we're not going to watch it for the afternoon. But I was just curious, just wanted to see if it's stock that we ended up putting on our list from yesterday. Obviously tumbled down today, and they'll have earnings come Friday morning. All right, EBA, not a whole lot happening there. XPEV and EV stock, lower highs, kind of near the lows. And then AHT, very tradable stock. We have this stock on our side list most days, and not a whole lot happening here, so we'll keep on our side list. All right, let's see what else we got from Terry in the trading room. Going back to Plug really quick. Plug was on our side list. We don't have too big of a main watch list now, so we'll kind of promote this to the main list. Plug building the higher low still on the way up towards seemingly 33.50. So Terry was saying the E next to Plug here, that E in parentheses, NASDAQ financial status indicator. It says delinquent issuer missed a regulatory filing deadline. There you go. All right. Well, that's not going to stop this stock from moving up, clearly, right, Terry? So just because it has the E next to the ticker symbol, don't let that fool you. Don't let that be a distraction to you. For right now, this still looks really healthy on the way up heading into the afternoon here. All right, from Norman DGBI or DBGI, my trader's dyslexia kicking in, my throat getting scratchy here. Nice pop though so far, right? I mean, it seems like it's a new ticker just over the last month or so. IPO, pop and drop, and Obviously today making a nice push back up here. So you know what? I'll put this on our list. Just be really careful because not only is a new IPO, but it seems like a stock that doesn't really trade a whole lot of volume on a day-to-day basis. Very inconsistent volume per day. 11 million one day, 2,898,000 the next day after that, and it's all over the place. So I feel like the volume could die off on this type of trade rather quickly. I mean, the volume bar is here, just keep an eye on. But yeah, good call for right now. We'll see if this ends up making a better move. Grant said ALF moving to 1175, 1375. But yeah, no, pushing back up a bit. I don't know. I feel like this stock already did so much across the day, across the last few days, and trading 167 million shares today. That's a lot for any stock, let alone this one. I feel like it's just only going to be exhausted. If it ends up popping, we'll call it out after we finish up this meeting and see if we can catch it in time from there. But you know, for right now, I like the Riot, the Mara, that IDRA. Let's go back to that. That's already on our list, mind you, but this one still looks pretty strong as a nice cheap stock that you could trade a lot of shares of. You know, you want to see it try and build a support perhaps off of 144, 145 first. But otherwise, I like this one a lot still. All right, folks, let me know if there's anything that I missed, though. Up, down, left, right, more than 5%. From Mitch Connor. Love seeing Mitch in our YouTube feed. He's asking about NIO, down 5+%. So another EV stock again, and one that I may have briefly mentioned as like a sideless stock. Yeah, I mean, it was dropping down before to make a new low of the day. It broke below 44 and pushed back above it. It's down more than 5%, so I like to see that. All right, I'm a bit of a sucker. I like this one a little bit more compared to some of the others that we've talked about thus far. So this NIO trade will make the cut. A little pricier, but we'll see if this can pin itself back down towards 44. And then on the same side of that, Trading PC Solutions joining us here again. Welcome back. Asking about Nikola, NKLA. So whereas NIO is diving off into the afternoon, this Nikola, another EV play, just on the complete flip side, pushing up beautifully. I'll be honest. I mean, this goes to show why you can't assume. But I was assuming when Trading PC called this out, I was like, ooh, it's probably going to be a similar type of drop-off compared to NIO. Oh, boy, was I wrong. So, yeah, beautiful play. I like this stock a lot. Great call here on the Nikola on the way up. All right, cool. Actually, this will probably make near the top of the watch list. We are very familiar with this trade as well. So it's not just the fact that it's at the highs, but the stock we do pretty well on a day-to-day basis, right? All right, folks, I think that just about wraps it up. A little longer of a meeting here today. I didn't have class this afternoon, so I was able to stretch it. So all in all, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 stocks now on our watch list. That includes the plug. That includes the NIO and Nikola on top. All right, folks. So for all of us in social media, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every afternoon. If you have yet to had the chance, please make sure to like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingu. Otherwise, feel free to join us live inside our trading room Monday to Friday. Just go right down to the link on the banner below to get yourself started. For all of us there, like Grant and Terry and Norman and Michael and Wendy, I look forward to speaking with you folks very shortly from now. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.